up, everybody? Welcome back to Civil Engineering Academy. I'm excited to be with you again on another podcast episode. Thanks for liking, subscribing, commenting, all that good stuff that helps with the algorithm. We love that stuff. So I'm excited today. We bring a special guest on. His name is Jeff Williams, and Jeff actually began his career as a civil engineer before he took on the role of becoming the mayor of Arlington, Texas. And while he was mayor, he took on some of the most ambitious and big projects that you can think of to transform that city. And I'm talking about ballparks where the Texas Rangers play. I'm talking about museums. I'm talking about all kinds of various infrastructure projects. And through all of this experience, he was able to determine how unity really affects projects. So he is writing a book that comes out this September called The Unity Blueprint, and he talks all things unity and how we can use unity and develop unity in the projects that we're building. So it's a fascinating interview. You're not going to want to miss this with Jeff, and he's a fantastic guest. So come learn more about Jeff and come learn about the projects that he was a part of and the new book that he has coming out, The Unity Blueprint, that's coming out this September. You're going to want to grab a copy of that. We'll make sure we link everything in our show notes and description so that you can do that. But without further ado, I will shut up and we'll get to my interview with Jeff coming up right after this. See you in a minute. All right, Jeff, we are rocking and rolling. Thanks for joining me today on the Civil Engineering Academy podcast. I appreciate you doing this with me.
Well, great to be here, Isaac. Always ready to talk about civil engineering.
I love it. Well, I'm excited. I know you got a book coming out, and we will definitely get to that. But I usually like to kick these off just getting our audience familiar with who you are. So it'd be helpful for us to know a little bit about your background. Could you give us a brief description of your background and maybe how you even fell into the world of engineering yourself?
Sure. Well, I grew up in construction. My grandfather and dad owned a construction company, and we built things, and I love building them. But I was very fascinated with our city engineer and what he did, and then as I moved through high school, my high school counselor said, "You scored really high in math. I think you really ought to go after an engineering degree." And looking into it, I love the opportunity in civil engineering to really to design the building blocks of communities, and had a discussion with the city engineer there in my hometown, and I really became enamored with that. I wasn't sure whether or not I would stick with engineering or not. I also had designs on potentially going into law school, but when I got into engineering, I loved it. Came out of Texas Tech, and then the building blocks I mentioned already. When you get to go in and work on, churches, schools, their public infrastructure, sports facilities there, and of course we've had some great ones from AT&T Stadium. We got to do civil engineering for it. And then we've done highway projects, and I think that is also just phenomenal to be able to open up a corridor there so that people can move in and out more easily. But then also we've done a lot of these large churches, and that has a deeper meaning. And my faith is important to me, and it's really been neat to use my occupation there to help with churches and schools, and then shopping centers there too. And they have really morphed from, I remember my first shopping center was a huge regional mall, but now we worked on the first town square, I should say the first town center there in the 90s called South Lake Town Square. And that was a phenomenal project. It's won many awards there too. And then now we're doing master plan communities there of all different kinds. So I love the fact that engineering is so broad.
Very broad. I'm curious if maybe we could take a step back. When you were in an engineering career, was there some memorable projects maybe you worked on before you went into the public service sector?
Oh, yes. There were many. I probably should start with the ballpark in Arlington. That was the Texas Rangers Major League Baseball facility that predated the one that we've done now. And on it, I actually got to work for George W. Bush, who was the managing general partner of the Rangers at the time. And we thought he might become governor someday. We had no idea. that he would become president, but he was phenomenal. And the team that I worked on there was a phenomenal team, all the way from the other engineers, the architects, contractors. That was a great experience. And I mentioned South Lake Town Square. That was another one that was just cutting edge there that we did. And then uh, Interstate Highway 30, there was really the gateway that allowed the Dallas Cowboys to come to Arlington, because until we had that project, we couldn't handle the traffic that was going to be coming in on Cowboy Stadium. And then
Mhm.
Prestonwood Baptist Church, which is one of the largest churches in America, they bought 140 acres, and we started it on it in so many different phases. It's almost like junior college campuses, and that church literally has over 50,000 members, and now
Wow.
we're working on another church for them. But the churches are pretty special. And then there is a community by the name of Westlake that really was didn't have anything built in their city. They had one little subdivision and an airstrip, and that's it. So we got to start from scratch on it, develop the ordinances there, to develop the planning and engineering standards. And now it is almost a little part of utopia. There, it's a small city, and there's a couple of thousand people that live there, but it has an internationally known school there, and a private academy. And of course, we ended up with Fidelity having regional headquarters there, Deloitte coming in, and then Charles Schwab, to name a few. There
Big
besides,
companies.
yeah, besides some others. And then, of course, now I'll just jump ahead. We are just completing the National Medal of Honor Museum, and that's been a phenomenal project, again, for the meaning of it. But it's been a very rewarding career, and all that there to say that really prepared me, I think, for public service.
Yeah, you've got, I mean, it sounds like a ton of experience there, and these are fantastic projects. Um, there, I'm just, in our audience, there may be engineers that want to jump into the public sector. Maybe they feel like that's a draw for them. What was that draw for you? Like, why was there a switch in your career to head to the public sector? I understand, you're working on these massive projects at a scale engineers probably aren't normally seeing, maybe sometimes, but what advice would you give to someone that maybe want to follow in your footsteps?
Well, what happened, many of my projects there, we've got to share the projects with the public. We've got to get them to support them. And many times it's leading up to a bond election that may need to take place. But also, there are many times that we're working for the city and the private developer to actually recruit a business to come and locate on the piece of land that we're doing. And then we all know too that we work with budgets, schedules there. So all of those things help prepare me. Your career as a civil engineer will prepare you well. But however, I think the thing that is so important is that you develop your communication skills. And that is both interpersonal and public speaking, because we got to be able to really communicate what we're designing and why we're designing. That question of why has become so prevalent now. And so that is an important part. But then also, I think you've got to be passionate there about whatever you're doing. And for me, I had 15 people, 15 of our leaders in our community to actually recruit me there to serve as mayor. And I had worked with many mayors and councils there in my career. So I knew what I was getting into. So I said no several times,
Hmm.
because it is extremely hard and it is not lucrative. But however, it is the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. And that really leads into the topic. In my career, I've seen the importance of unity and bringing teams together to work on projects, and what a difference it makes when you do have that teamwork. And that ballpark in Arlington was a great example of that, because we only had 2 years to design and build that before the start of Major League
Wow.
Baseball. And so that is really a year short, and people really pulled together, and we made it. We were told very clearly that Major League Baseball was not going to hold up the start of the season for us. But that really started me thinking about the importance there of creating that teamwork and valuing people. And I think that's an important thing. So I worked on my communication skills and developed those along the way. And then also, it really did magnify the fact that when you have people unified, you're not wasting energy, you're not wasting time, you're able to be productive. And so I really work hard at that, both inside the engineering and then after I became mayor. I needed a lot of help. So unity was a big part of it. And in fact, my book is called The Unity Blueprint, Aligning People and Purpose.
I love it. I mean, these you've worked on amazing stuff, the ballpark, esports as well, and then this Medal of Honor museum. Uh, I'm just curious in your mind, which one of those was the hardest to pull off?
Well, it's interesting. I think civil engineers know there's no easy project, is there? They all have challenges. It doesn't.
That's true.
The minute you say, "Oh, I think this was going to be easy," it's not. They all have difficulties, but I can say that probably the most challenging was the National Medal of Honor Museum because we were competing against 9 other cities, and they were phenomenal cities in their own right. And also, they started with 20 cities, and we weren't even in the mix. And so it was a year-long process, and we got in at the 6-month mark there, and that when they were narrowing it from 20 to 10, and they discovered they did not have any cities left in Texas, and so one of the Medal of Honor recipients and one of our citizens actually talked to them. Really, you ought to go by and talk to the mayor of Arlington. And they did, and we got into the competition. So we were working every day for that 6 months to bring that here. And it summoned upon every bit of the experience I had before, but also the beauty of this is that I knew there were areas I needed help on. And so we sought help, and we just kept our team kept growing all the way through that 6 months, and to see the unity that we had. And ironically, we had been a finalist for the Amazon HQ here in Arlington there. And so they made their visit here. We got our hopes up, and we lost. We didn't get it. They picked the wrong Arlington. Anyway, it was pretty interesting. But all that work that we had done, even though we had failed to get the Amazon HQ, it really helped prepare us. Our team had great chemistry. We knew what we needed to do. We gathered so much pertinent information. But then the big thing is that our team had developed trust. We knew that we could do it, and we hung with it and persevered. And in the end, the Medal of Honor Museum Foundation, when they selected us, they said that they could see that the spirit of the people is what really made the difference. And I was very proud of that because we had built a really unified team that worked well together, and we got it built.
That's amazing.
Raised the money for it, and it's built, and I have no doubt that it is going to be an award-winning project.
Man, I want to come tour it myself. Geez, that's a lot of wins. I think you need to. I'm in Utah. We're still trying to get an MLB team. I hear we're working on it, so maybe you should put in to be mayor over here and make.
Well, Isaac, there are those projects that are disappointments. I think all of us as engineers, have had them. And one of those that I had was a greenway project in which we were studying a stream that was 8 miles long that ran through our city. There had been major flooding on it, but our citizens really felt like this was an opportunity for us to come in with a river walk, a series of ponds and flood control that we could do, but to really create some outstanding parks and places for people to be. And I assembled our team. We got started. We had some charrettes. The citizens were so excited. We plunged into the master plan, and it couldn't have been more fun. It's one of those really fun projects because people came up with great ideas. Our team was very creative, and we finished the master plan. and the city council adopted it unanimously. The citizens were excited about it, and then they had to work on how to fund it. And so they decided to do a sales tax election to fund it. In the meantime, we submitted the master plan to all kinds of organizations, and we started winning awards and traveling around the country to present this project to them. And in the political consultant for the sales tax, they recommended that we not uh, uh, go out and do anything more because it had gotten so much support. But the council decided to put on an arts project with it. Long story short, it failed by just a few votes. We got 49% of the vote. And I was never more disappointed. And I said, no more. I am going to learn about politics so that I can help run bond elections and sales tax elections. And so that's what I did. And so I ended up, running our next city bond election and also our school bond election, which were really critical. And that it's amazing. I did not know how much that would prepare me to be mayor, but what it did in organizing those citizens and bringing them together and talking about what should go on the bond program, what should, what do they want to see happen, and then to actually bring them together and make it happen. Again, unity was such an important thing.
That's amazing. Unity is a big thing with any project I've seen working across disciplines with other companies or other government agencies. So the title of your book is called The Unity Blueprint, and it kind of details consensus across differences. But why, I guess, could you describe what that blueprint is and maybe why you wrote the book?
You bet. Well, first of all, I'm talking to engineers. So you go blueprint, man. That's kind of an old term now. We're all in the middle of AutoCAD, Civil 3D, and so forth. But an interesting thing, blueprint has become synonymous with a plan. In fact, you'll see it used all the time. So an engineering term is actually become synonymous as, or come to mean, a plan. And so basically, this book is a plan for how to bring people together and why to bring people together. And then, as an illustration, think about a project that you have worked on, and think about the fact that you forged friendships. You needed each other to actually make it happen. It might have been a school project, might have been something you were doing for the city, a civic project. But interestingly enough, when people come together to do good, it is an amazing feeling. And it also is really a cure for loneliness. It's also gives people something good to do to distract them from maybe their everyday problems that they may be having, whether it be personal or professional. And it is a very positive way to make things happen. And in the middle of all the dissension that we have around the world and the arguments and so forth, I think unity and working together on projects is one of the best solutions to help bring our country together and bring our group together. So that's why. And of course, in our businesses right now, we're always working on how do we become more productive. Well, I think it's establishing that unity.
That's amazing. Um, I applaud you for writing this book. I think it's going to be an amazing book. How long? I'm just curious, as an author, how long did it take to write you? Was it difficult to write, or was the material already there, easy to get on the paper and to describe all of your experiences and form this unity blueprint that you had in mind?
Well, it probably took 8 months total. It took us a couple of months just to record the stories and transcribe the stories. That was the beginning, because to me, that's what it's all about, is to use real life examples for people. This isn't a academic study at all. These are practical stories that we had lessons learned, some good, some bad there, but that really, I think, helps fill it in. We took a couple of months to get those. Then we organized. I'm very excited that Forbes is publishing the book. Their team was phenomenal. but then it took 6 months of hard work there to be able to write the book. And then Forbes also was really wanting to try to get the book done as soon as possible because they really feel like that this is an important topic there for all of us there. And of course, we want to have unity at home with our family. We want to have unity at the workplace, and then of course our nonprofits, and then also if you're in community service, there it bleeds over all of that. And valuing people is I mentioned that before, but valuing people and developing your character is so important. People will not follow unless you're somebody that they can trust and that cares about them.
So sometimes people don't have unity, as you're just mentioning. What tips would you have for them to overcoming that in terms of, I know we could relate it to engineering, but if you don't have unity, whether it's in your house or whether you're working on a project, what are some tips you have to form unity?
Well, many times disunity comes from not having a plan or not having a vision. And can you imagine, would we as engineers move to build a project without a blueprint? No, we would not. So you've got to have a plan, and people want to see that plan. And then I think it's important to be willing to listen to them. But the other part is try to understand them. Where are they coming from? What is the issue that they have, and can it be addressed? And also, sometimes disunity comes because you have holes in your expertise that you may need to add to there, or you may need more help. One of the fun things that I learned in working with nonprofits is that I had a lady that when she asked you to volunteer for something, she had a project that she would to actually define. It's going to take you an hour. Here's what you need to do. I'm going to have this many people there, and then she would feed you. And so we all loved volunteering for her because she had defined what we needed to do. She didn't take extra time, and she cared enough for us to actually have great food there whenever we were working. Well, that's kind of a thing that's happening now, even in our businesses. We've got to take care of our employees. We've got to define what they need to be successful, give them the information they need, and then care about them. And so that's a formula that just crosses all boundaries. So I think this is a book that is going to be great for the individual, for business people, and then also those that are volunteering or in elected office there, because today we all need unity. It is we don't have time to be wasting time on arguing and conflict resolution. We need to be looking at how to be productive.
That's great. So having a blueprint, having a large goal that everyone is focused on and everyone can get behind kind of resolves a lot of problems that you may have on a team or within your company or whatnot. This is what I'm gathering from the blueprint. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Anything else about the book that you would like to share in particular?
Well, I think something that is so important for engineers there is to look at what you've worked on. Really, it's one of the most important things to actually look back on the projects you've designed. Take your family and friends to your projects. It's and we have that. And maybe you only did the sanitary sewer for that project, or maybe you just did the grading for that project. But guess what? It couldn't have made it without that element, could it?
Right.
It takes all of that. And then, of course, we also need to remind our architect friends that the engineers are critical. They couldn't get by without us. So the thing that I think is so important is to realize that we as engineers are a critical and valued partner in building communities. And sometimes that gets lost in just doing the everyday work. And for me, the big moments now in my career is to be able to go back and to take friends and family and experience a ball game in one of our sports facilities, go to a town center that we worked on, or even to be traveling on one of our roadways there, and especially bridges. Man, I love bridges. Bridges set the character of a community, and then, of course, in this book, you're going to see lots of bridge metaphors of really, bridges connect people to places, but we as leaders can actually connect people to purpose. And it's a pretty phenomenal thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, sometimes engineering doesn't look as sexy as a movie star or anything, another field that people go into, but it affects everyday life, from the water we drink to the buildings that we're in, the roads we're driving. And so I think it's a great career path to go into. And I wish the public would know more about what engineers are doing for them to keep society running. And your book sounds like it details that, with Unity building bridges. And I think that's fantastic.
Well, Isaac, I can't wait. It comes out September 9th. You can pre-order on Amazon now, and you can find me on LinkedIn, and it's W.jeff Williams. There are a lot of Jeff Williams out there, including some engineers, but I think I'm the only W.jeff Williams there. So you could find me there. And then too, I do have a passion for engineering, and I'm really looking forward here to what civil engineers are going to do with, we're at the beginning of a technology revolution like the world has never seen. And we as engineers really need to be leading out on that and testing the new technology and seeing what works, what doesn't, how we need to regulate it and so forth. And that's not easy for us, because we find a solution and we want to stick with it. But yet now there's going to be new solutions that continue to come, and we've got to be willing to change and to test and I think take on that leadership role.
I love it. Well, we'll post all the links for the Unity Blueprint. We're excited that's coming out. Maybe my last question for you is, do you have any tips for young engineers just starting out? They don't know maybe what career path they want to go to, or they're making bigger decisions, but any tips for young engineers getting into this field?
Yes, I think one, you've got to find what you have a passion for. What is it that you like? You're about to spend the next 30, 40 years on your career, and engineering is very broad. And for me, I found that I liked working on a lot of different kinds of projects, and that really moved me to civil engineering. But I also didn't want to be limited to just private or just public. And so that really helped change it for me. But then the other thing I would say is that include your family in everything that you do. Let them know the projects you're working on. Take them to the projects because your family is so important there too, and it's huge. And then value the people that you work with, and that's another part. If you find that you're really not fitting in and so forth, find that group that you can fit in. But however, though, if you find yourself being the one that never fits in, you might need to look inside and try to figure out, okay, how can I be a better team member? Because engineering is about teamwork. And of course, being a good team member is critical. And again, the Unity Blueprint brings it right into that.
I love it. Jeff, this has been awesome. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, the projects you've worked on, and I'm really excited about the book that you have launching. We'll make sure we link all that up. If anybody wanted to contact you for any reason, is there a good way to do that?
Yes, through LinkedIn, W.jeff Williams would be a great way. And we have people monitoring that, and so it'd be easy to contact me through LinkedIn.
Okay, we'll go ahead and make sure we link that. Jeff, thanks for doing this with me. Appreciate you jumping on the show.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it, Isaac. Take care. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
See ya. Bye-bye.